Alright, fellas, we should be live now. Just gonna get... Okay, the audio sounds good. That's a start. Okay, I do want to check one thing real quick. Did my slider changes save from last time? Because nothing else did. Yeah, these look like the right ones. Okay, good. Because the game's obviously crashed. I had to give the Patriots and Panthers force wins just now because it crashed both times. I don't think it crashing is like the end of the world here in the playoffs, but in the regular season when stats really matter, that's going to be super annoying if that's still a bug in this game. So, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to manage that. Alright, while I set this up, which games would you rather start with? We have the Packers and Cowboys, along with the Raiders and Cougars. So, whichever one you guys want to start with, I'm good with. Winners play New England and Carolina in the conference championships. Alright, I'm going to be ready in about 30 seconds, and then we can get the show on the road. Not going to waste much more time after that, because I spent longer eating than I expected. Or maybe time just went quicker. Could be that. What's good, Apple, RMP, Lucario, Colin, Nick? What's good, everybody? Raiders, Cougars, I'm perfectly cool starting that. So, since the Cougars are home, Vegas is 1, Chicago is 2. Siri, are you ready for a fun game of football? Siri does not have an answer to that. Can you pick a number between 1 and 2 for me, please? Siri has chosen 2, so that means we will use her the Cougars. Looks like Colin already has a jersey request. Did I do your roster? What do you mean, did I do your roster? Oh, you're right. That's a good catch. That's a good catch. Did you make changes in the depth chart? That's probably why I missed it. You did. Okay. Thank you for noticing. That would have been bad. Well, I guess since we're using the Cougars, I could have just changed it in-game. And if not, I probably would have noticed and quit out of it. But still, good thing you noticed. Or else that would have been kind of bad. Alright, so I'll try to go through this pretty quickly. I'll open the chat up in one of my other devices, so I'll be able to see what you knuckleheads are saying. Number 5, Illinois. Number 2, Ohio State. How does Illinois get to 5? Wink, wink. Fullback is Edmonds. He doesn't look like he's on the roster. That's odd. Mr. Pettis. After him, we have Boykin. 3 is Beasley. 4 is Reed, Johnson, and Hogan. Alright, good. Tight end, Troutman, Reed, and Nada. O-line, Beecham and James Carpenter is 2. Where's Carpenter? Am I blind? I don't see him. Huh. Left guard, Austin Jackson. Where is Mr. Jackson? Did I pass him? I did pass him. Center, Eric Milner. Right guard, Helmon Brown. I don't think he wants Adam Troutman as his backup, so we'll, since I don't know where James Carpenter is, we'll just make it Zeldier. CPU might have cut him. I turned all of the CPU stuff off, so that would be really weird, but I mean, it's Madden, so you can't count out anything this game does. Left end, Winovich, Wolf, and Shepard. Right now we have Melvin Ingram, Jaden O'Neal, and Derek Wolf. And then D-tackle, Molden, Darius, Hunt, Lattimore, and Stallworth. I don't see either of them. I mean, they're 4th and 5th stringer, so it's not the end of the world for the purpose of a depth chart, but why is Madden cutting all these fools? That's correct. Middle linebacker, Edmonds, Correa, Quarterman, and Kaliki Hudson. And right outside, Correa, Hudson, and Quarterman. Almost ready, fellas. Corner, we have Mr. Jair Alexander. We'll, I guess do that. Witherspoon, 2. Dantzler, 3. Gaines, 4. 3 safety, we have Hooker, Edmonds, and Thompson. Strong safety, we have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Deontay Thompson. I don't see anything for kickers and punters, so I assume don't touch it. Third down back, we have Mixon, Justin Jackson, and Kerryon. Power back is Kerryon, Mixon, and Dillon. I now have rooting interest for the Cougars because they have Kerryon. So go team. Boykin, Beasley, and Tyler Johnson. Brandon Ayuk is going to cook Jair. I mean, Jair Alexander's really good, but with what we've seen from Brandon Ayuk in this game, I'm not gonna question that. I wouldn't. Brandon Ayuk could totally just torch him. Rush right end, we have O'Neal, Winovich, and Wolf. Have a few positions to go. We're almost done, fellas. Molden, Darius, next highest, I guess that would be Wolf. Sub linebacker, Edmonds, Deion Jones, that's right, and Terrell Edmonds. And then slot corner, Edmonds, Witherspoon, and Thompson. All right, we're ready to go. Can the number 1 seeded Chicago Cougars advance to the AFC Championship, or will it be the 8-8 Cinderella Raiders? Want to see the Cougars win, mostly so Colin wins the championship. I'd be cool if Colin won a ring. All right, Colin said he wanted his all blues, I believe. Also, because Las Vegas is technically CPU, technically you're right. Yeah, these jerseys are clean. Got injured. Oof. Well, now you have to put the team on your back, RMP. You got to make sure now you got to have your back hurting too, along with whatever injury is there. And away we go. The Cougars are the only team left in the AFC who's won their division, and this is their first playoff game, so we could have 2 wild cards in the AFC Championship, which is kind of wild. Which stadium are the... Oh, is this the hybrid? The hybrid's definitely one of the best ones in the game. Technically, the Cougars are the Browns, so that's more reason for you, I guess. Go Cougs. Unofficial Raider coach. I mean, I guess you're the Raiders cheerleader until your player gets drafted. Got injured at wrestling. Oof. Alright, let's get this show on the road, fellas. Top-seeded Cougars. I don't think we've seen a home game of theirs yet, so it is fun to see their stadium. And the Las Vegas Raiders. Winner plays the Patriots. Personally, go Cougars. It seems like everybody wants the Cougars to win. Well, the Raiders have to make a statement. I mean, since my team is out of it, I don't have a ton of rooting interest, but Carry On is on the Cougars, and I'd like to see Colin win a ring. So, I mean, I guess I'm a little bit pulling for the Cougars, but if the Raiders win, I'm not going to be upset about it. We beat the Browns in real life. Thanks, I didn't know. Well, for the Browns' sake, it's a good thing that they're no longer the Browns and now the Cougars. And now Chicago actually has a competent football team. Want revenge on the grandest stage? Well, you've got your opportunity. Big win last week against rookie Riley Painter and the Dolphins. Raiders got smacked by the Falcons and nearly... Oh, dear! Well, that's one way to start a game. A 41-yard run for Joe Mixon. And Chicago is on the board a minute into the game. The Raiders' defense was excellent against the Dolphins, and today, well, not a particularly hot start. He said vain. One of the keys to winning in this game is having top-level running back talent, and this team certainly has that. One of the best duos in the league in Joe Mixon and the GOAT himself, Kerryon Johnson. The former Cardinal. I forgot he was on the Cardinals last year, but yeah, he was. And he was pretty darn good. It was never fun to play against him. Even though we won like 70% of the time. Devin Singletary and the greatest duo ever. Devin Singletary and Devin Singletary. Here is Cole McDonald leading the way for the Raiders. The second-year man out of Hawaii who threw 18 interceptions. Is Cole McDonald on a roster in real life? I know he got drafted by the Titans, but I think he got cut after training camp. Is he on a roster? I have no clue. GOAT duo. Are you sure about that, Chief? Your team won 5 games and had Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes only won 3 of them. The greatest duo of all time is Keaton and Keaton. Because Keaton is the second greatest punter quarterback to ever, actually third. Can't figure out Keith Fleming. And obviously Brian Amaya is first. No one's passing Brian Amaya. I mean, I have C. Bush. Well, C. Bush isn't Joe Michigan. I almost called him Joe Michigan. I mixed Mixon and Michigan to create Mixigan. Cougars without a few of their big defensive players, Sheldon Rankins, Dante Jackson, and Corey Littleton, all of whom could return to the Super Bowl. I actually think they all are projected to return to the Super Bowl. But Cougars have to win these next 2 games in order to make it. That should have been picked. You seem to forget that EA hates you. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but EA hates a lot of us. Cougars force a stop, so only 3 minutes into the game, but the 1-seeded Cougars look like a 1-seeded caliber team. Oh, they're going for it on 4th and 6? I mean, they do have it at the opposing 44, and the receiver just flat out dropped it. That was an on-target throw by Cole McDonald, but that one just yeeted out of his hands. That's an interesting call. I mean, I probably would have punted it there. If it was 4th and 2, then maybe, but I don't know about 4th and 6. Why do CPU defenders never intercept tipped-off passes? I feel like that's only on All Madden, and this is on All Pro, but I mean, it feels like if you're the Raiders defense, you're on all Madden right now because Joe Mixon has 96 yards on 2 carries. This might be a long day for the Raiders rushing defense because Joe Mixon looks like a man on a mission. Joe Mixon's yards per carry is about to get killed on this play, and he's still going to score. Mixon with 2 touchdowns already, and he looks like he wants to win a ring. Not an ideal start for the Raiders, whose defense looks like something I would watch on Sunday. Severe case of Eric Ebron for Raiders defense. What, all talk and no show? That's what the guy on 4th down looked like with the drop. I think it was the tight end too. Well, comeback time. I mean, we're only not even 4 minutes into the game, so the Raiders are far from done. But also being about 4 minutes into the game, then the Raiders look like they might get smoked today, unless this man puts up 5 touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk. Did I see your experiment? I like experiments, but I did not see it. I'm confusion. You meant the offense. I was confused by what you meant by defense, so I was just trying to figure out how it made sense, and it didn't really make sense. But yeah, offense would make a lot more sense considering he dropped it. Cole McDonald does not look terrible though. He played well last week in the win over Miami. In Miami, can't forget that. Pick Joe Mixon and Denzel Ward. Did I just say Joe Mixon at first? You picked Kenny Clark and Denzel Ward over Joe Mixon. And your defense still sucked. Well, granted, Jelani Tavai was starting. Is that Bob Quinn's worst draft pick, Jelani Tavai? What's worse, Jelani Tavai or Tease Tabor? I don't know, because both are awful. That's an interesting question. I don't know which one of those two is worse. I mean, Tease Tabor at the time made sense. Jelani Tavai did not. So I guess for that, I would say Tavai. Jelani Tavai is the worst linebacker. I'm not even going to disagree with you. In real life, I don't even know if he's going to be on a roster next year. We could have had DK. We could have had McLaurin. The Eagles, though. What about them? They could use throws like this from Cole McDonald, who has 71 yards. We've actually seen quite a bit of offense today. This is refreshing. I mean, part of it is Joe Mixon breaking off 2 40-plus yard runs. Experiment is trying to make a full 99 team, but only play the games. What do you mean by only play the games? Like, not make any roster moves, and if they leave, they leave? That is an interesting experiment. I would imagine that team would be really good early on. Offense in the OFL, never heard of it. Well, at least not in watch games, yeah. So it's good to see both offenses playing well. I know the Raiders don't have any points, but I think their offense is looking good so far. Assuming we do make the change next year to arcade, that should be fun. The games might be a little bit more unrealistic, but they're also going to be, I think, a little bit more interesting, which should be cool. As that looks like, ooh, I thought he was in. I guess not. See Bush, the user, with the run. And now it's 3rd and goal. They're going to try to punch it in, and they got it. I don't think that was C. Bush, though. Who's number 30? Is that Carlos Hyde? The ageless, you wonder? I say ageless. He's probably like 28. He's not even that old. I guess for a running back, he's old. F realism, it's Madden. Let's go to arcade.
His kick is good. Makes the score Cougars 14, Raiders 7.
I wonder what an arcade game would look like, and I wonder how much different I would have to make the sliders, because the sliders I currently have, I cannot imagine would be the same. I would have to probably move the catching down like a lot, but hopefully that'll lead to more yeets, and it'll definitely lead to more successful yeets. Carlos Hyde just feels old. It feels like he's been in the league for 10 years, and he's been on like at least 5 different teams. playing on pro for this experiment, so it's not hard. Yeah, you're going to win every game by 50. Until the team gets decimated.
That's the end of the first
Quarter number 1 in the books. A lot of offense so far. A lot of Joe Mixon.
Raiders 7.
Cougars up 14-7. Who started the ball? I think it was the Cougars. Okay. So the Raiders start the second half, but we are just entering the second quarter. We can't be worrying about the second half yet. Remember when Carlos Hyde was in college? Well, Carlos Hyde was a Buckeye, wasn't he? Wasn't he on the Browns for like a super short time? I think he was on the Browns the year that Saquon Barkley came out, because I remember I thought they should have picked Barkley, which is certainly not the case. As good as Saquon is, I have learned in the past 3 years that you do not draft running backs that high. So I think the Giants regret picking Barkley, as good as he is, but you don't draft running backs that high. You just don't. And obviously, most people knew my stance on Baker Mayfield. Oh, it's Chidobe! Chidobe Awuzie! Forcing a 4th down. Okay, for Raiders win this game, I now have rooting interest for them as well because they have Chidobe. Sucks for Lions don't really need a corner in real life because Chidobe is a free agent at the end of the year. I mean, unless the new regime just totally doesn't believe in Okudah or Oruwariye, and I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, Okudah wasn't good this year, but he was put in a pretty rough situation as a rookie, so, I mean, I can't really blame him. It would be fun for us to get Awuzie, but that's not going to happen. Can we get upgrades soon? We'll probably have upgrades again once we start the offseason or opening up next year. Giants pick Saquon over Nick Chubb. If you said if the Giants pick Saquon over Bradley Chubb, then yeah, I would understand. Or really, most of the players in that first round, that 2018 first round was loaded. Including the best center in football. Wink, wink. But no, Frank Ragnow is an absolute monster. Frank Ragnow might be Bob Quinn's best draft pick. Him or Galladay. I mean, Galladay was a third rounder, but Galladay also might not be on the roster next year. So, good first down for the Raiders. It looks like they're starting to play a little bit better, and it looks like this is going to end up being a really good game, which is fun. Here's old McDonald on second down. Finally, Brandon Ayuk does something. He hasn't really done much today. 2 catches, 31 yards. Yeah, they got to get him involved. Statistically, he was probably the best receiver in the league this year. So, curious to see how they can try to get him more touches because he needs them.
Number 41, the ball carrier. He's tackled at the 34-yard line. A 3-yard pickup brings up 2nd and 7.
Where do you think Nick Chubb ranks out of all the running backs in the league? He's definitely top 5. I would say Henry's better. I would say Cook is better. I would say McCaffrey is better. I don't think I can say anybody else is better. Kamara and Saquon are close, but I would probably put Chubb at 4. I think all 6 of those players are like tier 1. I think they're all all in the same tier of talent. But I'd probably say Nick Chubb is at like 4-ish. Who is the best running back in the NFL? That's a tough question. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's been awesome this year in the 3 games he's played in. And I have Henry and Cook. Who is better out of those 2? I think the Vikings would be a lot worse without Dalvin Cook, and the Titans would be without Derrick Henry. And that's not saying Henry isn't valuable, but I don't know. I feel like the Vikings just need Dalvin Cook to be relevant, and without him, they might have like 3 wins. That might be a little bit exaggerating, but I mean, I think easily this year, Henry and Cook are like 1 and 2 by a mile. Maybe not a mile. Kamara and Chubb are close, if we're talking this year alone, but... And look at C. Bush! with the touchdown. This game is tied.
Joey Slide.
Raiders came to fight. I mean, they only finished 8-8 through the first half of the year. They looked like a really bad team. Now all of a sudden they've gotten really good. They're on a roll. And the best teams entering playoff football are the teams who are on a roll. And that's what the Raiders are. So the Raiders are as much of a threat to winning as everybody. And you have a ball at half, that's true. But the Cougars still have 2 minutes to go. How many passes has Daniel Jones thrown today? I don't think I've said his name once in this entire game. I mean, the Raiders have dominated the time of possession. Mainly because the Cougars' scoring drives had 40-plus yard runs by this man, Joe Mixon. Do you think you Chubb, then you have to stop Kareem Hunt whenever Chubb gets tired? I mean, that's pretty scary. I wonder if the Browns pay Chubb. Browns are in a weird spot with contracts next year. With Denzel Ward and Baker Mayfield, but at least Mayfield and Ward have fifth-year options. Nick Chubb doesn't. And with Kareem Hunt being signed, I don't know. I mean, if they don't re-sign Nick Chubb, I mean, shoot, I'll take him. I mean, I love me some Swift, but he says 3, and then Colin follows with a 4. Here, we're gonna keep up with tradition. Better re-sign Chubb. I mean, you guys can't overpay him with his medical history, so I'd be a little bit weary.
4 yards on the pickup.
Daniel Jones is a sneaky 6 for 7. Not that he's played all that well. Not that he's played bad. I mean, he's been accurate. Imagine the backfield of Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs. That would not be fun for defenses. Unless the quarterback was like Carson Wentz or something. Carson Wentz is such a weird topic. I feel like people have just totally written him off now. I mean, this is the same guy who would have won an MVP 3 years ago had he not got hurt. So, Joe Mixon has 7 catches. Hold on a second. How many completions does Daniel Jones have? This is like the Panther game the other day where J.K. Dobbins caught like 13 passes. Imagine having a backfield of Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry. That's even scarier. So Daniel Jones is 9 for 10, and Nick Chubb has 7 catches. Not Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon. Where did I get Nick Chubb from? Joe Mixon has 7 catches. This game in Sim just throws to the running back way too much. It's unbelievable. He's on pace to have more catches than J.K. Dobbins did in the previous stream, which says a lot. You've got to have very different running backs to have a great backfield system. I mean, you're not totally wrong, and Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, and Derrick Henry are all bruising backs, so they're all have fairly similar playing styles, but at the same time, instead of Thunder and Lightning, you have Thunder and Extra Thunder, which is a little bit scary as well. So, I think, Apple, to an extent, you're right, but if you have, like, 2 elite running backs, like the hypotheticals put here of Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs or Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry, that would still be the best backfield for you. But other than that, I agree with you. They would just take carries from each other. I mean, that's true. They certainly would have less numbers, but at the same time, you have an energized top 5 running back in the backfield the entire game, whether it's Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry for that example. Cougars with a late field goal to end the half. Imagine Chubb and Christian McCaffrey. Well, I mean, Chubb, you have your bruising runner, and McCaffrey, you have your do-it-all receiver back who can also make plays as a runner. So, I mean, that team would win a lot of games. They'd win a lot of games. Both teams have looked good today, especially offensively. I am enjoying this offense. This is probably the best playoff game we've had so far. Granted, we're only 1 half in, but the second half might be even better. If you have 2 amazing running backs, that's a good system, but if you have a really nice receiving and power back, I mean, I agree to an extent, but sometimes talent just triumphs fit, but fit triumphs mediocre talent. So, for the most part, I agree with you, unless a team come across as 2 top 5 running backs, which is very hard to do. What do you think of Devontae Booker this year? What's there to think about? He's like the third string running back on the Raiders. I mean, he's a solid backup, but he's not like special. I mean, he has a roster spot as an NFL player. Good for him. But oops, he says.
The Raiders take over first and 10 at their own 24-yard line.
C. Bush has played not too bad today. 9 carries, 41 yards, and a touchdown. He's the second string. He's been fabulous. Let me pull up his numbers real quick. I know numbers aren't the full story, but they can tell a large chunk of it. That's like asking, what do you think of Dearness Johnson? Has Dearness Johnson done anything other than that like really big game against, I think it was Dallas, where he just had like a randomly good game and then went back to being like a third string player. So far, so ooh, that could have been picked. Is that Jair Alexander? I don't think 22 is Jair. I think that's Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, aka CD Deuce. I don't get why he changed his name, but CD Deuce is a baller name, so I can't totally fault him for that. 3rd and 1, big play here, and that's a stop. The Cougars stopped him. 96, I think that's Will Molden, the rookie, who has been awesome this year. Very good pick by Chicago. For the Colts, tomorrow is a must-win. Who the Colts playing against again? I totally forget. What a punt! Down at the 1. I don't know if we've had a what a punt down at the 1 in OFL 20 yet. Well, now we do. I don't know who your punter is, Lucario, but he's pretty darn good. So now the Cougars have to get out of safety. Is that carry-on in the backfield? Do we get some carry-on touches? Something that the Lions oddly refuse to do in real life for whatever reason. I don't get how feeding AP is better than carry-on.
It's a gain of 7. Brings up second.
Pog punt.
At the 8-yard line.
All right, I'm looking up Devontae Booker's numbers now. I'm curious why you say he has been, quote, fabulous this year. The grave digger, Johnny Townsend. What a guy. 6:09 p.m. Nice. Devontae Booker has 75 carries, 376 yards. That's 5 yards to carry. And 3 touchdowns. Okay. So, I mean, he's putting up fine numbers. I mean, nothing to get excited about. But 5 yards to carry is good. It was all for naught. But what a punt has been reversed. And now the... Why is Joe Mixon only have 4 carries? That one, the 2 long runs, and the other touchdown. I have not noticed that Joe Mixon only has 4 carries, but I guess that's true. Huh. I don't get the decision making there. I mean, you have to feed your best players in the playoffs, and Joe Mixon is this best offensive player. Whoa, look at carry-on. Trucks a defender, then does a spin move, and now apparently there's a field goal. As Adam Troutman's hurt. That's not good for the Cougars. So, carry on making those plays leads to an invisible field goal. Huh. Not the first time I've seen that field goal glitch. I've seen that a number of times. As with a bunch of other glitches in this game. We're getting carved up by Danny Derps. I mean, Danny Derps hasn't been that good, but he also hasn't made any mistakes. So... definition of a game manager-esque performance. Now, Daniel Jones has been really good this year for the Cougars, and I feel like it's disrespectful to call him a game manager, but today he's been a game manager, and he's done well at that role. as a game manager, you just have to avoid making mistakes, and he has not made any mistakes. Danny Dimes, his first somewhat deep pass, and it's caught. What a yeet to Dante Pettis. AGG, I'ma just say it. Dearness Johnson has 14 carries for 100 yards. 13 of those for 95 was in the Dallas game. Yikes. Will be a top 10 receiver. What, on his team? If I go down all of the receivers on Washington's training camp roster, he'll be top 10? Is that what you're saying? Baker Mayfield is a better game manager. I mean, has Baker Mayfield gone 15 for 16 before? In a playoff game? No, I don't think so. Buckshot will be the Washington quarterback. Why are the Raiders challenging a 3-yard gain? What was that? 2nd and 3? 2nd and 6. Okay, it was a gain of 7. I don't get what there is to challenge. Well, I understand what they're challenging, but it's a 7-yard difference. I don't think it's worth losing your timeout for a 7-yard difference. I mean, I guess it would be 3rd and goal, but the call stands. So, yeah, that was clearly a catch. Definitely got both feet in. So now the Raiders only have 2 timeouts. As Joe Mixon gets the hat trick. Assuming the game doesn't crash, which is a huge if, I imagine Joe Mixon will win Offensive Player of the Week in the AFC. This has great, just great. I mean, the Raiders are only down by 10. The Cougars are certainly in the driver's seat, and I don't think anybody can stop Joe Mixon at this moment. But does Joe Mixon have 5 carries for 3 touchdowns? I think that's the stat line. 10 plays, 100 yards. Wouldn't it be 99 yards? We're being lied to. Numbers are fake.
The Raiders take over 1st and 10 at their own 30-yard line.
You're welcome, Colin, for me picking Kenny Clark and Denzel Ward over Joe Mixon. Blame whoever took Alvin Kamara. Who has Kamara again? Why am I totally forgetting who has Alvin Kamara on their team? For a second I was thinking the Eagles, but the Eagles had Kamara last year. Who on earth has Alvin Kamara in this league?
A gain of 14. 1st down, Las Vegas.
I know who it is, I'm just not remembering. It's on the tip of my tongue.
He's brought down by Deion Jones. It's a pickup of 6. Brings up 2nd and 4.
I'm gonna be salty because I totally don't remember. I could probably check the draft spreadsheet, but Tyler has given me full ownership of. Once Tyler was kicked from all the servers, he gave me full ownership of that, and I don't really know why, because we don't need it. Well, now we do. For me to remember who has Kamara. Oh, the Cardinals. Yes, the Cardinals. You guys are right. I'm dumb. Yeah, they had Kamara and Gurley. I don't know why that took me so long to realize.
That's the end of the 3rd quarter of play. With the score,
how long have I done this? Yeah, since Madden 19. This is the 3rd year of OFL. And the 1st year of relocation teams, and it looks like this relocation team, the Cougars, is about to punch their ticket to the AFC Championship if the Raiders don't start their comeback now. And that won't help. Melvin Ingram opens up the 4th with a sack. Whew.
It's 2nd down.
Okay, the Raiders make up the yardage from the sack and a little bit. Cole McDonald was 16 of 21. I mean, the QB accuracy sliders getting upped. There's going to be like some really high completion percentages the rest of the way. But I'd rather have like 90% completion percentage than games that end 14-3. So it's worth it. Third and 7, they get it. What has Brandon Ayuk done today, other than, like, 2 catches? He's getting outplayed by Allen. I mean, Allen Robinson's a good player. Wouldn't mind to see a certain team in Detroit get him. His Twitter bio literally says Detroit versus everybody. I think he's from Detroit. So, I mean, if we let go of Galladay, that'd be a good consolation prize. Allen Robinson was picked like 3 years before Galladay, but I think he's only like 3 months older. Galladay was old for a rookie. He's like, I think Galladay's 27 already. Whereas Juju and Godwin, who are in that same class, are like 24. So if I have my pick, I would pick Juju and Godwin in free agency over Galladay pretty easily. Could have paired Patrick Mahomes with Joe Mixon instead of my love for trying to build a good defense. I mean, I prioritize defense over offense usually, so I'm with you. But at the same time, in Madden Sim, I also prioritize getting my running back early. Hence why I picked Josh Jacobs in the 2nd round. I think he was my 2nd round, and I think he is well worth that 2nd round pick. They didn't get it? That looked like a clear first down, but okay. It's odd. I mean, it looked like he clearly got the first down. Juju's like 23 right now. Yeah, 23, 24 in the ballpark. That's a major difference to Galladay, who's 27. So, if Galladay gets a bigger contract than Juju, I'm going to have a problem with it. Obviously, Galladay's a better player right now. Juju's good, but he's not as good as Galladay. But once Juju enters free agency for a 2nd time, he'll be the age that Galladay is now. Most likely. Who's better, Happy Galladay's or Juju Fish? Well, Galladay is better right now. Partly because Juju is like the 4th receiver on the Steelers. Because that team is like so weird at receiver. I mean, they're talented at receiver, but they're just so weird there. That's like such a weird receiving room. Shook tied for 2nd worst in the OFL win percentage. I guess that's true for 1 year. Noah Hudson, my injury bust. That's like 4 defensive starters out for the Cougars now, I think. And they had Hudson going to the locker room, so that means it's not a good injury. Let me get this straight. The Raiders go for it on 4th and 6 on the first drive of the game, but don't go for it on 4th and inches on the really most important possession. Yeah, and now Ryan Ramczyk is hurt. Injury bug has not been fun to the Cougars. 4 defensive starters, and probably their highest rated player on the roster. Okay, he is on the sideline, so that means he'll probably be good. Does Angry Beaver even play? It does not look like it. He's the only X factor on the Raiders, but I don't think he's playing. Partly because he's like a 60 overall. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's not high. Maybe it's higher than that. Maybe it might be like 70. I don't know. Daniel Jones is 19 of 20. Fourth and 9. The Cougars are going to punt it. Can the Raiders spark a comeback? If you lose in the OFL Bowl, we'll be opposites. I guess that's true. Well, what if a team like the Raiders makes it? The Raiders finished 8-8. If the Raiders could run the table and still have a worse winning percentage than the Cougars, who went 12-4. If we make it to the champ, can you make him start? Well, you have to be the coach to make that decision. But at the same time, there's also a part of me that really wants to see Angry Beaver. But I'm not allowed to make that decision because I'm not the coach. Raiders head coach in this game is about as smart as Bill O'Brien. That's an insult to Bill O'Brien. Come on, please. I can't make that decision for a CPU team. Because that wouldn't be fair to the other team. Even though Angry Beaver is lower rated, he also has X Factor. So that wouldn't be fair. If the Raiders get a coach within the next 2 days, and I'm not having people become coaches until the offseason, I know at least 1 or 2 people signed up with the letter G in the coaches thing that I do. So maybe the Raiders' job will get taken, but This is going to be a repeat of Cowboys-Steelers. Please no. I mean, the Niner-Panther game almost went into double overtime too, but that game was 2 full overtimes. Why don't we do a vote? No. I'm not going to do it. Big sack from a rookie, Jaden O'Neal, one of the better late-round picks in the draft this year. And there's another sack for Jaden O'Neal. Back-to-back plays for the rookie. Raiders calling their timeouts. So this signals that the Raiders have to score on this drive or else it's game over. Doesn't look like we're going to have Cowboys-Steelers. Firing something crazy as Cole McDonald yeets it, and it is incomplete. Oh, the Raiders only have 1 timeout. I thought I just called it first. Well, I am prepared for the 5-yard check down. Oh, it's not. It's a yeet, and it's caught! But there's a flag! And it's roughing. Oh, it's a face mask on the Cougars. What? So they have it at the 18? And I think the clock stops. That is unbelievable. A 4th and 27. A-Rob makes a ridiculous catch. Face mask. And the clock stops. I'm getting raw dogged. And there's a touchdown on the following play for, I think, Irv Smith. And the Raiders tie it with 41 seconds. The Cougars do have all 3 timeouts, though. But wow. What a play. This might be the craziest sequence we've had in the postseason so far. Probably not. I mean, Dallas-Memphis at the end of regulation probably beats that. But that was really something. Spreadsheet will not be updated just yet. Major Pog.
Joey Sly lining up for the point after.
Okay, I want to see good games, but both overtime games in the playoffs were both quite long. So
Kick is good.
I wouldn't hate to see the Cougars score before the end of regulation. It's going down in history. Pogs in the chat, boys. Daniel Jones has thrown 1 incomplete pass, you got to remember, and they have all 3 timeouts. So there's certainly a shot the Cougars could score. There's also a chance Madden throws us a 180 and we have a turnover, or we just go into overtime. So a lot of different things can happen. Run the ball with Mixon. That's not even a bad idea, at least on his first play. And they're not. Unsurprisingly. Okay, that was risky. They got to call time. What are they doing? Yeah. That pass was asking for disaster. The Cougars are awfully lucky.
1st and 10 at the 32-yard line.
Getting OFL Bowl 2 vibes. No game will ever be better than the second OFL Bowl last year. No game will ever beat that. That game was, like, truly historic. That ending will never be beaten. Never. 2nd and 10. Mixon to about midfield. The Cougars will call their second timeout. They're close to field goal range. They need a little bit more than a first down. I don't trust a 60-yard kick, so I think they need about probably 20-ish yards. And there's the 20 yards they need. Actually, I think that's 21. Watch them not call a timeout here. I'm fully prepared for them not to call a timeout and run the clock out because it's mad. Okay, they call it with 2. Here we go. Whoever the Cougars kicker is, I think it's Jake Elliott, who was drafted in the 3rd round of the fantasy draft last year by Walter. Had some big kicks with the Bears, and now he needs a big one for Chicago. A 51-yarder. This is far from a guarantee. Plus, the Raiders just iced him. So, okay, no, it's a 50-yarder. I can't count. 50-yarder. This is far from a guarantee make. Elliott's kick is up, and he drills it. Is it accurate? It is. The Cougars will win it at the buzzer. I've never asked of you, Jake, but Jake delivered. And the Raiders, for the 2nd straight season, will go home just short of the championship. Now, last year was the sim year, but I think they made the AFC Championship last year. That was a bomb. I mean, Jake Elliott made like a 61-yard game winner in his career before, but that kick was a boot. He could have made that from like 80 if he wanted to. Spreadsheet has been updated. What a game. That was stressful indeed. So the Cougars will be hosting the Patriots in the AFC Championship. So one of those teams will be in the Super Bowl. I don't know why Joe Mixon only had 8 carries, but he was something else. Irv Smith and Joe Mixon both had... Irv Smith had 11 catches. Wow. Brandon Ayuk had 5 for 58. Yeah, this is definitely probably the best playoff game we've had so far. This was definitely an exciting one. Alright. Game 1 is in the books. And now time for Game 2. 15.8 yards per carry. That is a Jesus moment indeed. And it crashed.